She noticed the tire when she was already late. Claire had parked at the far end of the Meridian Health Network Administrative Building's lot because the closer spaces were full. A board meeting with 6 members plus support staff meant a full lot at 9 in the morning, and she had been on her phone from the moment she turned off the engine, walking toward the building, when her heel caught the edge of something and she looked down. Flat. Completely, definitively flat. Not a slow leak. A flat that had been happening since at least the highway, she understood now, and she had not noticed because she had been on her phone on the highway too. She stood beside the car in the parking lot in her charcoal suit and her slightly scuffed pumps and looked at the tire for a moment. Then she looked at her phone. 9:14. The board meeting was at 9:30. She had a roadside assistance membership she had not used in 3 years. The estimated response time would be between 30 and 60 minutes. She crouched beside the tire. She was not the kind of woman who did not know how to change a tire. She had changed tires before, in different clothes, in different decades. She was also not the kind of woman who was going to arrive at a board meeting she was chairing in a charcoal suit with grease on her hands if there was another option. She was reaching for her phone to call roadside assistance when she heard, "You want some help with that?" She looked up. The man standing at the edge of the parking lot was perhaps 65 to 70, broad-shouldered, dark green work jacket, a canvas bag over his shoulder. He was looking at the tire with the assessing expression of someone who has looked at a great many tires. She said, "I was about to call roadside." He said, "That'll be 45 minutes minimum. I can have it done in 12. He set his bag down. He said, "If you want." She said, "Please." Before we continue, if you believe that the most important things that happen in a day are almost never the things you planned, please like this video, subscribe to Still Waters Stories, and share this with someone who needs to believe in people again today. His name was Ernest Gaines, and he had been a mechanic for 40 years, 22 of them at his own shop on Meridian Avenue, the remaining 18 at a regional auto group where he had been the senior diagnostic technician until he retired 3 years ago. He had looked at more tires than he could count. This one was a nail, visible in the tread when he crouched beside it, a roofing nail, the kind that falls off contractors' trucks and ends up in parking lots and does exactly this to exactly the wrong person at exactly the wrong moment. He had her spare out of the trunk and the jack positioned in 90 seconds. He worked without commentary, not because he was unfriendly, but because the work was straightforward and did not require narration, and he had never been the kind of man who narrated straightforward work. Claire stood beside the car and watched him. She had meetings she could prepare for on her phone. She did not look at her phone. She said, "Do you live nearby?" He said, 2 blocks, Callaway Street, 31 years. She said, "I don't know the neighborhood well. I'm usually in the building." He said, "Which building?" She gestured toward the Meridian Health Network building at the far end of the lot. He glanced at it, then back at the tire. He said, "You work for Meridian?" She said, "I run it." He looked at her for a moment, the specific look of a man recalibrating a piece of information. Then he went back to the tire. She said, "You know Meridian?" He said, "I know the Millfield Clinic." He said it without particular emphasis, the way you say the name of something that is simply part of your daily world. She was quiet for a moment. She said, "Are you a patient there?" He said, "My wife is. Has been for 11 years." He loosened the last lug nut with the practiced economy of someone for whom this motion is entirely automatic. "Also, my daughter used to take my grandchildren there before she moved. And my neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, she's 74. She's there every 2 weeks for her blood pressure." He lifted the flat tire free. He positioned the spare. He said, "Good clinic." Claire said, "The financials are difficult." He said, "I know." She looked at him. She said, "You know?" He said, "People in the neighborhood know." He began tightening the lug nuts in sequence, cross pattern, The way you do it correctly. When something's going to close, people hear about it. He paused. My wife cried when she heard. Claire said nothing. He said, "She's not a person who cries easily." He finished the spare. He lowered the jack. He checked the lug nuts once more, not because he didn't trust his first pass, but because that was what you did. You checked twice. He stood up. He put the flat tire in the trunk, the jack beside it, closed the trunk. He picked up his canvas bag. He said, "You're all set. The spare's a temporary, don't take it on the highway. Get the nail pulled and the original patched or replaced today if you can." She said, "Thank you. What do I owe you?" He said, "Nothing." He looked at her with his warm, dark eyes, not accusatory, not asking for anything, simply direct. "You've got a meeting to get to." She said, "Mr." He said, "Ernest." She said, "Ernest, can I ask you something?" He said, "Sure." She said, "The clinic. What would it mean if it closed?" He looked at the Meridian building at the far end of the lot. He said, "It would mean my wife drives 40 minutes each way for her appointments instead of walking 6 blocks. It would mean Mrs. Patterson, who doesn't drive, stops going." He was quiet for a moment. "It would mean the neighborhood loses the only place that's been there for it." He said it without anger, without pleading, with the flat and complete honesty of a man stating facts he has lived with long enough that they no longer require emotion to convey. He said, "That's all I know." He picked up his bag. He said, "Good luck with your meeting." He walked out of the parking lot. She watched him go, the dark green jacket, the canvas bag, the unhurried walk of a man heading home. She looked at her phone. 9:26. She had 4 minutes. She walked to the building. In the elevator, she looked at her briefcase, at the financial analysis inside it, at the case she had prepared and refined and presented to herself in the mirror that morning. A $2.1 million annual deficit. No viable path to self-sufficiency. The responsible decision was clear. The elevator opened. She walked into the boardroom at 9:29. 6 board members at the table, support staff along the wall, the agenda packet at each seat. She took her chair at the head of the table. She set her briefcase down. She looked at the agenda item. Millfield Clinic, recommendation for closure. She thought about a man who moved a roofing nail out of her way in 12 minutes and asked for nothing, and told her 3 things he knew. She thought about a woman who cried when she heard. She said, "Before we begin, I want to discuss an alternative to the closure recommendation." The room was quiet. 6 board members who had arrived expecting a formality looked at her across the table. She said, "I've been reviewing the Millfield numbers against our network's community benefit obligations under the nonprofit designation. I think there's a restructuring model we haven't fully explored, a federally qualified health center conversion that would shift the deficit funding to a grant-based model. I'd like to table the closure vote and bring back a full analysis in 30 days. The board chair said, "Claire, we've been through this." She said, "I know. I'd like 30 more days." There was a silence. Then the board chair said, "All in favor of a 30-day tabling?" 5 hands went up, then a 6th. The vote was unanimous. The analysis came back in 28 days. The federally qualified health center conversion was viable, not easy, not certain, but viable. It required 18 months of transition work and a grant application process and the cooperation of 3 departments that had not cooperated with each other before. Claire chaired the transition committee herself. She did not tell the committee why she had called for the delay. She simply did the work. The Millfield Clinic did not close. Ernest did not know this for 7 months, until his wife came home from an appointment and mentioned that one of the nurses had said the clinic was going to be okay, that they'd found a new funding structure, that it was staying open. He said, "Good." His wife said, "Did you hear anything about why it changed?" He said, "No." He thought about a parking lot in March, a charcoal suit, a roofing nail. He said, Sometimes things just change. She said, "Not usually." He said, "No, not usually." He made dinner. Outside the kitchen window, Callaway Street in the early evening, the same street for 31 years, the clinic 2 blocks down with its lights on. Mrs. Patterson's light on across the way. The ordinary evening of a neighborhood that was still there. He did not know what had happened in the boardroom. He did not need to. He had fixed a tire and told the truth about what he knew and walked home. That was what he had done. Whatever came after it was not his part. But the clinic's lights were on. 2 blocks down on a Tuesday evening in October, the Millfield Clinic's lights were on. That was enough. If this story moved you, please like this video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe to Still Waters Stories for more stories of courage, grace, and the small human decisions that turn out to matter more than anyone knew. And tell us in the comments, has a stranger ever given you something they didn't know they were giving?